Having been banished to the backbenches by Rishi Sunak, Suella Braverman has doubled down on her claims that multiculturalism has completely failed in the United Kingdom, citing what she calls the normalisation of anti-Semitism on Britain's streets since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war. She's also poured cold water on Rishi Sunak's new deal with Rwanda, saying that there remain gaping holes in it that leave it open to legal challenges. Let's see what my panel make of this. Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Ben Habib, and political commentator Matthew Stadlin. Ben, I want to read out this email from Andy, because Andy's written in there. Andy says, multiculturalism has failed. He says, we've allowed certain groups to live in no-go ghetto zones, ghettoisation of Britain. We bow down every time someone screams racism. We're becoming a country where British values are disappearing day by day, and it's too late to change it back, I'm afraid. I mean, are you as pessimistic as Andy is on the state of Britain?
I think we're on a precipice. I don't think it's too late. I think if we act fast and we act decisively, we can save the nation-state that was the United Kingdom. But what we're seeing with multiculturalism is one silo in a much bigger attack on the nation-state that is the United Kingdom. And the attack is coming on our language. What is a nation-state? It's a common language, it's a common culture, it's a common social construct, it's a country with territorial borders which are enforced. That's what a nation-state is. And one of the ways it's being... I mean, all those issues, by the way, all those definitions of a nation-state that I gave you, all of them are being challenged. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways it's being challenged is through unbridled mass immigration. I've got nothing against immigration, but it's got to be at a pace at which the country can adopt cultures coming in and assimilate those cultures. But we've practiced it at such a rate. We've had more immigrants come to the United Kingdom in the last 25 years than in all of history before that. And we're therefore unable to assimilate. And in order to try and come to some peaceful terms, if you like, for want of a better expression, with the different cultures we've taken in, we're effectively being required, as the dominant culture in the country, to take the knee to these ethnic minority cultures, ethnic religions, and so on and so forth. And in that process, multiculturalism is actually an all-out attack, has become an all-out attack on the United Kingdom. And we've got to stop it. I think it can be stopped. We've got to bring legal and illegal immigration crashing down to near zero numbers for a number of years. And we've got to work very hard at teaching people our language, teaching them our history, teaching them traditional British values, teaching them about traditional British institutions, championing our history, championing our national heroes, and inculcating our culture so that we can go forward as a harmonious, homogenous United Kingdom.
OK, I mean, Matthew, is there any part of what Ben has just set out there that you agree with and recognise?
Just on the immigration, bringing that crashing down to naught, I mean, we gave out 150,000 nearly visas to people working in health and social care in the last year. Without those people, our system would have been sunk. Our relatives, our dying parents, our friends, our grandparents would have suffered enormous indignity had those kind people not come and done the work that we don't seem to be prepared to do in large enough numbers. So bringing immigration down by some arbitrary figure in order to achieve the aims that Ben wants simply won't work. On the question of integration, absolutely in favour of integration, celebrate differences, but also make sure, as best we can, that we promote a sense of community cohesion, a sense of national cohesion as well. What I'm worried about with Suella Braverman, both when she was Home Secretary and now, is I think she's trying to be divisive. I don't think she's trying to do the hard, heavy lifting of trying to make sure that we come together.
But with respect, people have been saying this for years and years and years, that all we need is... I remember David Cameron being stood at a podium saying... you can wear a hijab with poppies on it. And I just thought...
you can.
But, well...
of course you can.
But the
I've
idea...
got friends who wear hijabs and
saying
poppies.
all of this, how is saying all of this actually going to, in practice, bring about that cohesion that you speak
There's
of?
been undoubtedly some hate, just to use apparently the proof that Suella Braverman uses to say that multiculturalism has failed. These pro-Palestine marches, undoubtedly there has been some hate on those marches. Only yesterday I was calling on the Metropolitan Police to make sure that it hunts down, within the law obviously, any perpetrators of anti-Semitism, arrests them and charges them, and I hope they spend time behind bars. I say that not just as someone of Jewish ancestry, but also just as a human being. It's absolutely critical. I've got no time for any such nonsense, right? But what are we actually going to do? 82% of our country, England and Wales at least, is white. That means 18% are not. What are the plans to bring people together where there is felt that there is division? And I would say this, and it's, I think, extremely important. I don't think there's as much division as some would make out. Ben and I are living, breathing examples of people whose part of our families come from different parts of the world. Ben's from Pakistan on one side of your family, mine from Austria on the Jewish side of my family. We are both proud Brits. And within 1 or 2 generations, we absolutely believe in our country. Suella Braverman, just take another example. The Prime Minister, to take another example. They are examples of multiculturalism working, where our own Prime Minister is British Asian, where our own former Home Secretary, 2 former Home Secretaries were British Asian. If Suella wants to use the marches, let us use her as an example of positivity.
I don't think you and I and Suella and Rishi are examples of multiculturalism, actually. I think what you and I and Suella and Rishi are examples of immigrants who've actually come across and adopted values, common values that are practiced in the United Kingdom and are proud of being British. And that's the way I would like immigration to be practiced. So we do it at a rate and a pace where we can assimilate. And the one issue I'd just like to pick up on, Matt, if I may, is you said that, you know, our National Health Service would fall apart if we didn't have immigrants coming in. One of the biggest problems we've got is dealing with problems a problem in itself that we've got is dealing with issues in silos. And we look at immigration, we deal with it in a silo. But actually, the reason we've got rampant immigration, one of the reasons we've got rampant immigration is because we've got a broken domestic labour force. And one of the reasons, and we've got 6 million people, for example, on universal credit, 3 million before lockdowns, 1 million in 2018, a dramatic increase in the number of people needing state subsidies to survive. And one of the reasons that's the case is because so many people have been dragged into the tax net that it doesn't simply pay to work at the lower end of wages in the United Kingdom. And so what we're doing, and having set the minimum wage for qualifying for a work visa to come to the UK at £26,000 a year, which is 25% below the median wage, what we've done is induce immigrants, educated immigrants who can work in the National Health Service and so on, to come in here and fill the gap that we should be filling with our domestic population. And the other flip side,
had 13 years to get
absolutely,
on top
the Tories are squarely part of the problem.
But Labour
I just want to say one more thing, Matt, and then I'll hand over. You know, this attraction of Labour from abroad is very damaging to the countries from which we attract it. You know, if we're talking about a humanitarian global good, it's awful taking doctors and nurses out of Pakistan and India. You're damaging those countries, and people don't see that. Sorry, over to you.
If you, and I take you at face value and at the value of your words, if that is a genuine concern of yours, then of course that's a reasonable and important concern. Labour are going to would abolish this 20% discount on foreign workers because they think it undercuts, I think, the domestic.
I think the Tories are going to do it now.
Yeah. I think Labour actually led on this. This idea that Labour does not want to represent the working man and woman is a myth and a nonsense. I just come back to Ben on his important point about why he thinks we are not examples of multiculturalism working. I think we are. I think Suella Braverman, although I fundamentally disagree with her views, and Rishi Sunak are, because their parents, grandparents, your parents, my grandparents, whatever, did come from different cultures, but we are all proudly British. In other words, lots and lots and lots of people, I would suggest the overwhelming majority of people who come from different ethnic or racial backgrounds do buy into Britain.
But you and I are culturally very similar. And even though I'm half Muslim and you're half Jewish, we're very similar.
But it shows it's possible, right?
But that's not multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is the celebration of cultures not assimilating, not being part of the homogeneous...
The suggestion she's making, she's using the word multiculturalism to attack immigration and to suggest that immigration can't work in a cultural way. We are examples of it working.
But the way we're doing it, it doesn't work.
But we are part of this.
On that point, then, because Anthony has written in, rather, and Anthony says, when exactly were the British people asked if they wanted this multiculturalism on steroids?
Well, every time there's a general election, people know what the issues are that they're voting for.
You can't say that. Both parties practice it. Exactly, both parties.
Except Reform UK.
Well, and there's a point. That's an important point that Ben... That is an important point that Ben makes. Reform UK are steadfastly against immigration. You've heard
No, not against immigration.
Well, you want to get it down to naught.
Net zero immigration is our policy.
Which means that we would bring down net immigration by 600,000 or 700,000 with devastating consequences. That will be in... Let me just finish. That will be in your manifesto.
But
that will be in your manifesto. So, yes, we do have largely a two-party system, but you are disruptors. And if the British population agree with you on those figures of immigration, of bringing them crashing down, they will vote for you and you will get MPs at the next election. Let's see.
Well, hey.
Yeah, I mean, Joan has written in, and Joan says no way has or does multiculturalism work, and actually all of this about needing to fund to actually staff the healthcare system and social care is a joke, because the more people you have come into our country,
sticking plaster,
the more people you need to service them.
It's a Ponzi scheme. Exactly. Immigration is a Ponzi scheme. Well, and these people get old, and they need support. They get ill. They need housing. They need all those...
A lot of immigrants go home, like the students. Take them out of the figures.
They also bring their families. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Matthew Stadlin and, of course, Ben Habib, thank you very much.